is championship night in the town of Marne, Michigan, where the American short trackers Voltson Super Trucks are set to contest the grand finale to their 2017 season. It's the Voltson Marne 100, taking place once again here at the Berlin Raceway. Each lap here at Berlin is only 7/16 of a mile around, but for a track of its size it is deceptively fast and complex. Drivers will be up on the wheel all night long trying to keep their V6-powered pickup trucks under control as they scream around the banked and sweeping corners here, all the while running mere inches away from their fellow competitors, and sometimes even less. Before we get to the start, we're going to take one final look at our championship points battle, and what a fierce battle it is. 15 trucks entered tonight's race with a mathematical shot at the championship trophy, although the better part of those drivers are facing some very long odds. Jason Miller and Michael McKinley won't even be in contention for the title if neither driver wins the pole position. And as for John Bennett, Jeffrey Jackson, Adam Ramirez, Amberly Weiss, and Brianna Prinzhorn, they are all in a situation where they need to win the race, or else they have no hope of the title at all. And even if they do pull off the victory, they're going to have to rely on most of the drivers ahead of them in the standings, all finishing towards the very back of the order. The odds are not looking good for those 5 drivers either. As a matter of fact, Alex DeFranco, Bailey Bliss, and Zach Churchill, while they don't mathematically have to win the race in order to have a shot at the title, they're going to need a lot of bonus points and, once more, some very poor results from the drivers ahead of them. So in reality, there's only about 5 trucks here who have a decent and realistic shot at the title, barring a miraculous set of circumstances falling into place. Daniela Jacobson, Archer Helms, Natasha Rodriguez, and Wilson Timothy all still have a little work cut out for them themselves, but they are very much within reach of Brian Kelly and his championship lead. Kelly has sat atop the standings since the conclusion of race number 6 at Kalamazoo, but Timothy's recent victory at the Terre Haute Action Track has brought him to within 20 points of his Binford Racing Team teammate. We're nearly ready for the start here now, and we're going to take the opportunity to give you a quick look at the starting lineup as the trucks pace around the course. You may notice right away that there are 34 trucks that will be taking the green flag for tonight's event. That's a fair number more than any of the races here in years past, and there were no DNQs for the event. Everyone who showed up gets to partake in the action. On the outside of row 13, we find Michael McKinley, who, as we mentioned earlier, will no longer be in contention for the title now that he has not earned the pole position, but McKinley is also the only former winner of tonight's race taking the start, so keep an eye out for truck number 99M to make his way towards the front. On the inside of row 8 is our points leader Brian Kelly, who you may also have noticed is the first of our championship contenders on this list, at least of the 5 drivers who are in primary contention for the title. All of them qualified fairly solidly, all of them are in the top half of the field, but Kelly was the slowest among those 5. Daniela Jacobson starts right in front of him in 13th, with Natasha Rodriguez starting right in front of her from 11th. Into the top 10, Jason Miller starting from 9th, also no longer has a shot at the title mathematically speaking, and the remaining 2 championship threats make up the front row for the race. Wilson Timothy came within 300ths of a second of earning the pole position, and the 20 bonus points that come with it. That would have tied him with Kelly for the championship lead, but alas, he couldn't quite top the time set by Archer Helms in the 153. His deficit to Kelly goes down from 59 to 39 points just like that, bringing him ever closer to a shot at taking the title from the Binford trucks. So there you have it, 34 trucks, 100 laps, and 2 trophies to be awarded at the end of the night. Who's going to win the race, and who's going to win the championship? The green flag is in the air, and we are racing at Berlin. Archer Helms gets a good start over Wilson Timothy and takes the lead through turns 1 and 2 onto the backstretch. Timothy settling into second place there, as Helms comes around to lead the first lap on the night. That's going to give him another 5 bonus points in his efforts to hunt down Brian Kelly for the title. But Kelly is wasting no time making hay further down in the midfield, going to the inside of Natasha Rodriguez and Alex DeFranco to make it 3 wide for position. Coming to the end of lap 2 here, and Kelly has already made his way into the top 10. There is no starting slow for Kelly tonight. He knows that he needs to get to the front to protect his points lead, and he wants to get there quickly. as we see Scott Madigan in the 53 truck running into trouble on lap number 3, pulling to the inside and running well off the pace. Something is definitely amiss with the Isani that Madigan is piloting tonight as he pulls into the pit lane to get the truck looked at by his crew. He's going to lose several laps in the process as Wilson Timothy smacks the wall hard off of turn number 4 at the end of lap 5. That was significant contact that Wilson Timothy just made with the outside concrete barrier, and that appears to have done a fair bit of damage to the right side of his SAR. Riding on board Camden Rhodes in the 62 truck was running in 3rd place as Timothy understeers up all the way into the wall off the corner. He got in the gas and could not keep the truck from skating all the way up the racing surface, and that was some good heads-up driving from Rhodes as well to lift off the throttle and stay away from the 61 truck. That easily could have been a crash had Rhodes not been prepared for that. And as the laps go on, it appears that the damage done to the 61 truck may be affecting how it's performing, as Timothy comes under attack from John Bennett and Natasha Rodriguez, who has begun to work her way forward, and right behind him is his teammate Brian Kelly. Perhaps the last sight that he wanted to see in his mirrors. He knows that he needs to beat Kelly in order to have a chance at the title, but there goes the 6 truck around to the inside. That's going to give Kelly the 9th position as Alex DeFranco follows him through to take 10th from Timothy as he continues to fall down the order with his A-Lane truck. Natasha Rodriguez and Brian Kelly, on the other hand, get around John Bennett to continue their march towards the front. Remember that Rodriguez started immediately in front of Kelly. The two of them have worked together to charge up the order in these opening laps. Rodriguez trying to put as much distance as she can between herself and Kelly to maximize her chance at taking this championship from him, but in doing so, she's actually been clearing a path for him to follow her through to the front. As for the other championship contender, Daniela Jacobsen, she has not had the start to the race that I would imagine she would have liked. Running back outside the top 20, she has lost a lot of ground after starting from the 11th position, but her crew trying to keep her calm over the radio and reassure her that this is a long race and there is plenty of time to get back to the front. Jacobsen is currently running in close proximity to all 3 of the EF5 Motorsports trucks of Grant Edwards in the 79, Honoko Kurosawa in the 09, and Bailey Bliss in the 89. All 3 of them have shown a lot of speed this year and are trying to work together to make their way to the front, as is Michael McKinley, who has been slowly working his way up from a 26th place starting position. McKinley, as we mentioned, is the only driver in the field tonight who has won here in the past, having won the race in 2014. It has not been nearly as successful of a year this year for McKinley in the Voltson Super Trucks as we are accustomed to seeing from him, but over in the FARC Truck Series, where he is running full-time for the first time this year, he has scored 3 wins in the first 6 races. And a bit further down the order from McKinley, we find the 042 truck of Jay McCarthy in the Trailblazer Motorsports machine. McCarthy is the only driver in tonight's race who is a regular competitor in the local ranks here at the Berlin Raceway, and while I'm sure he would prefer to be running closer to the front, he is certainly making the hometown crowd proud. McCarthy, however, and the drivers racing around him are beginning to run the risk of going a lap down soon to the race leader, Archer Helms, who has opened up a big gap over Camden Rhodes and has led every lap thus far, but right in front of him, there's problems for Danny Vigo in the 80 truck. Vigo slows suddenly coming onto the front straightaway. Something's obviously not right under the hood of that number 80 Lycoya, as look at Helms take evasive action to the outside there, actually scraping the wall a little bit off the corner. He did not have a lot of time to react, but luckily for him, managed to avoid colliding with Vigo's ailing truck. The Indiana Dirt Track Racer is going to come to a stop on the racing surface and draw the first caution of the night, and after a quick yellow flag period, Archer Helms gets right back to where he left off, pulling away from Camden Rhodes on the restart and trying to clear the lap truck of Scott Madigan. Just behind them, however, the other lap trucks of Nick Moss and Danny Vigo, who lost 3 laps getting his truck repaired, are going to play interference with the rest of the top 5 runners. There's Brian Kelly going to the inside of the Jinx Racing Development teammates and moving up a couple of more positions, and off the corner he makes contact with Jason Miller, slides up into turn 3, back into the door of the 40 truck, and again through turn 4, Kelly trying to hang onto the car, and he's going to save it every time it steps out from underneath him. That was far too close for comfort, I would have to imagine, for Brian Kelly. Taking another look at what happened from onboard Danny Vigo as he pushes up into Jason Miller's truck off of turn 2. Miller was also starting to break loose and slide down the track a bit, and that took about half of a lap for both of them to recollect their trucks. Some very good car control from both parties means that everyone will be able to continue on. And speaking of lap trucks further ahead, I mentioned that Helms was trying to get around Scott Madigan to put him another lap down, but he didn't quite manage to do so, and in running side by side with him, that's given Camden Rhodes the opportunity to go to the inside and take over the lead of the race. Rhodes assumes the top spot in the running order, while his teammate and boss, Jason Miller, continues to run in 5th, so the Operation JM trucks are having a very good night thus far. Here we have the number 07 SAR, the Anthony Griffith Motorsports machine that showed up earlier this year at the Nelson Lidges road course. The truck was piloted by Anthony Griffith at the time, but tonight it is driven by rookie Alex Phillips. The Team Thunder development driver was assigned to partake in tonight's event in preparation for a full run at the championship in 2018, and he's off to a very good start. He qualified in 12th, as Nick Moss, the lap truck, gets turned by Jenny Jackson in turn 4 and slides up into the outside wall, bringing out the caution for the second time tonight. Moss is going to get away relatively unscathed, as Rhodes gets a great jump on the following restart, clearing Danny Vigo immediately and beginning to pull away from the rest of the field. But further towards the back, the restart's not going to go nearly as cleanly for Daniela Jacobson in the 57. She gets turned hard into the inside wall on the front stretch by her teammate Amberly Weiss. She was a bit of a long shot for the championship title coming into tonight's race, but with all the damage that's been done to that truck, her championship hopes are officially over. Looking from the onboard of Amberly Weiss, who most certainly did not mean to do that, and you can hear everybody lifting off the throttle as they come across the starting line. There was a big checkup further up the field, and unfortunately, Jacobson was the first link in the chain that eventually gave way. That was not Weiss's fault at all, but it is very unfortunate nonetheless for Team Michigan. Weiss's truck luckily appears to have suffered no damage, and she gets right back to work, trying to work her way towards the front, and here she is getting around Wilson Timothy in the 61, who has not been able to recover after hitting the wall on lap 5. We've only just passed the halfway point here, but the handling on the 61 truck does not appear to be getting much better as the race goes on. As further down the track, Alex DeFranco gets turned hard into the outside wall in turn 3 after contact with Kevin Irvine. Irvine had just been turned down the track by Natasha Rodriguez coming off of turn 2, and DeFranco's truck sort of ended up saving Irvine, but at DeFranco's expense, obviously. All drivers will continue on, however, and Camden Rhodes pulls away from Archer Helms once again on the restart, with Brianna Prinzhorn continuing to run in 3rd. We haven't mentioned the 7 truck yet tonight, but she started the race from 5th and currently finds herself running in a podium position. Right behind her in 4th is Aiden Shepard in the 42 truck, who started all the way back in 19th and is having a fantastic race thus far. But meanwhile, Natasha Rodriguez and Kevin Irvine get together for the second time and plunge into the tire barrier on the outside of the backstretch. Both trucks are absolutely destroyed and done for the night. Natasha Rodriguez no longer has a chance at winning the championship trophy, as there's more trouble further up the track. You probably saw that from the first shot. Zach Churchill and Hinoko Kurosawa get turned into the outside wall, and while everyone's trying to get away from that, Ron Anderson ends up getting turned around off the side of Bailey Bliss's truck, and Amberly Weiss gets turned sideways as well. A whole lot just happened there at once through turns 3 and 4. Luckily, most of the trucks involved, apart from Rodriguez and Irvine, are going to get away with relatively little damage, and at the exact same time that all of that was happening, Shepard breaks down from the 4th position. We just mentioned how fast he has been all night long. His team won't take long to get him sent back out onto the track, but he is 1 lap down by the time he gets there, and his presence on the inside line for the following restart is going to allow Brian Kelly the opportunity to go to the inside and try to take over the 2nd position. Not that that was Shepard's fault or that there's anything he could have done about that, but Kelly trying to move past the 153, who is continuing to have an outstanding race here tonight, one of the best of his young career. Helms still one of the biggest threats for the win, in spite of having lost a couple of places, and he is not going down without a fight. Charging back into turn 3 on the outside of Kelly, Helms is making a valiant effort to retain the 2nd position, but Kelly's going to claim it for good as they take the yellow flag once again. This race got off to a pretty clean start as we went green for the first 31 laps, but we have had a string of repeated yellows throughout the middle of the race here, and this one is for Jason Miller, getting sent off the backstretch and into the tire barriers. Tiffany Rogers pushed up the track just a little bit coming out of turn number 2, but unfortunately for Miller, it was just enough to push him up into the lap truck of Nick Moss and send him off the track. As Rhodes leads once again to the restart and gets another fantastic jump over Brian Kelly, clearing Danny Vigo right away and putting a couple of the lap trucks in between himself and the rest of the field. Rhodes has yet to blink after having taken the lead from Archer Helms at the end of lap number 40. It has not been the best of year for the Operation JM racer considering that team's success in the past, but he did manage to win the race at Galesburg and is having another fantastic run here tonight. Zach Van Horn in truck number 5, out of seemingly nowhere, has made his way up into the top 5, currently engaged in a thrilling 3-wide battle for the 4th position with Alex Phillips on the inside and Ben Maddox on the outside. Van Horn has been running very quietly in the midfield all night long, but now that we find ourselves in the closing stages of the race, he's charged his way up to join the fight with the leaders, and lots of credit given to Alex Phillips as well for making his way up into the 4th position as he clears both Maddox and Van Horn. Phillips is running very strongly for someone making only his first start, but their fight is going to get interrupted by another crash. This time it's Nick Moss, who gets bumped by John Bennett off at turn 2 and sent careening into the tire barriers, nearly rolling the truck over in the process. That was a violent impact with the wall, but luckily Moss escapes unhurt. The restart comes with 16 laps to go now, as we are approaching the final laps of the race here tonight, and Camden Rhodes gets another good restart over Brian Kelly. He can't quite clear the lap truck of Aiden Shepard, and is soon after going to let Shepard go in an effort to minimize the time lost by running side by side. And as Rhodes attempts to pull away from Kelly, the fight resumes for 3rd. Zach Van Horn on the inside of Archer Helms, trying to take over the position from the 153 truck. We mentioned how fast that Van Horn and his team have been on the dirt tracks where we've been racing for the past couple of weeks, and that speed has appeared to have carried over to the pavement as well, as he moves himself up onto the podium. Right behind Helms for 5th, Adam Ramirez is fighting with Alex Phillips and Ben Maddox for that position. Ramirez was running up in the top 5 earlier on in the going before falling back outside the top 10, making a bit of a recovery here, and also attempting to avenge his teammate Natasha Rodriguez after she dropped out of the race. Further back in the top 10, we find a number of trucks who have not been here most of the entire race. Amberly Weiss, Grant Edwards, Bailey Bliss, and Michael McKinley were all running outside the top 20 early on in the going, but have slowly begun to pick off cars one by one until they are all fighting for the 10th position. It's currently held by Bliss, but now she's going for 9th on Amberly Weiss. And remember, Bliss was involved in that big crash involving multiple trucks, including Zach Churchill and her teammate Hanoko Kurosawa. Luckily, Bliss's truck appears not to have been adversely affected by that crash as she moves up into the 9th spot. That group of drivers all making the most out of a day that did not start particularly well for any of them, as we return to the front of the field to find that Camden Rhodes and Brian Kelly have pulled away from Zach Van Horn and opened up a huge lead over the 5 truck, as we are now within 10 laps to go in this 100-lap race. Kelly is not letting Rhodes out of his sights, but he actually is finding himself in a bit of a dilemma here. As the championship points leader, he is guaranteed the title if he finishes where he is in 2nd place, and it might be in his best interests to let Rhodes take the win and not risk wrecking himself or the both of them. But if he were to do so, then he would lose the chance to go for what could be his first career victory in the AST Voltson Super Trucks. In spite of being the championship leader and one of the best drivers in the series on a week-to-week basis, Kelly has not managed to pull off his first win as of yet, and you can tell by the way he's driving just how badly he wants to get that first win here tonight, giving it everything he's got in an attempt to close in on the back bumper of Rhodes, pushes wide up turn 4, but keeps it in the gas and keeps it off the wall. Rhodes undoubtedly feeling the pressure from Kelly, trying to keep it underneath him for just a few more laps as we get closer and closer to the white flag. All the while, Van Horn, Helms, Ramirez, and Phillips have not given up, as they remain in hot pursuit of the leaders. They have separated themselves from everyone in 7th on back and are slowly closing in on them, but they do not have a lot of time remaining to make anything happen if they're going to do so. Rhodes slowly starting to open up a few truck lengths over Kelly. It's not a very big lead, by no means is it a big lead, but it is offering him just a little bit of breathing space over the 6th truck. It's hard to tell if he's slowly gaining the upper hand here, or if perhaps Kelly has backed off in an effort to preserve his truck and guarantee his title. And just as I say that, he closes right into the back bumper of the 62 truck. I appear to have spoken too soon. Kelly is going for this win, and you can bet he's going to give it everything he's got on this final lap, as Rhodes takes the white flag and begins the final lap of the season. Running a little wider than Kelly through turns 1 and 2, but he's going to keep all the momentum that he entered the corner with and carry it down into turn 3. Rounding the final corner, Camden Rhodes pushes up the track towards the wall. He nearly hits it off the corner. Kelly makes a run for the win, but it's too little too late. Camden Rhodes takes the victory at the Berlin Raceway. What a thrilling finish that was to conclude the AST Voltson Super Trucks season. Rhodes pushed wide off the final corner, nearly cracking under the pressure as Kelly tried to chase him down, but held on to take the win by half of a truck length. And looking at the replay here in slow motion, Rhodes just didn't have enough front grip left in those tires to keep it on the bottom when he got in the gas, and look how close he came to hitting that wall off of 4. A lot of credit given to Camden Rhodes for lifting off the throttle when he did. Had he kept it in the gas and tried to outrun his understeer, he almost certainly would have ended up hitting the wall, and that could have very easily cost him the victory. Give a lot of credit to Brian Kelly as well for not running over the 62 truck and turning him around. A very impressive job by Kelly to only sideswipe that 62 truck as he attempted to drive on past. Very sportsmanlike conduct from both drivers as they attempted to race each other for the win. Zach Van Horn comes home in the 3rd position, rounding out the podium and scoring his 2nd podium result in just his 3rd start. The Van Horn Motorsports team has impressed everybody in their first 3 races in the AST Voltson Super Trucks, and we're very excited to see what they can do next year. Archer Helms started from the pole position and led the first 39 laps of the night. I'm sure he would have preferred the victory as well, but this was still one of the best performances of his Voltson Super Trucks career. Adam Ramirez rounds out the top 5 after a very good recovery run in that Jinx Racing Development Isani, the highest finishing Isani in the race. Alex Phillips finishes in 6th on debut, making team boss Anthony Griffith proud in the process, I'm sure. Brianna Prinzhorn finishes in 7th with Amberly Weiss coming home in 8th after spending most of the race well outside the top 20. Very good run for Weiss, who is the highest finishing Lycoya in the race. Ben Maddox concludes the season with a top 10 result, coming home in 9th, and Bailey Bliss brings EF5 Motorsports one final top 10 to close out their first season of competition in the series. Brian Kelly may have come up a few feet short in his pursuit of the race victory, but he and his team still have much to celebrate, as that 2nd place finish has earned him the 2017 AST Voltson Super Trucks Drivers' Championship. With the series leading 4 top 5s and 6 top 10s, and 115 laps led across the series' 10 races, he may not have scored that first career victory, but he has absolutely had a championship caliber year, and he has earned this in every right. The Rockford Speedway racer made his debut in 2015 at the Terre Haute Action Track, and has been one of the best drivers in the series ever since. Congratulations to Brian Kelly and everyone on the Binford Racing team. Archer Helms, after entering tonight's race ranked 4th in the standings, scores a 2nd place result for himself and his family-owned team. It has been a breakout year for the young Kentucky racer, and this will surely give him a lot of confidence heading into next year, where he will compete in the FARC Truck Series as a rookie. 3rd in the standings, if you can believe it, is where we will find our first race winner from this season, as Wilson Timothy ensures that both of the Binford trucks end the year ranked in the top 3 in the standings. Timothy is one of 2 drivers to have scored multiple wins this season, coming at Flat Rock and Terre Haute, and while I'm sure he would have loved a better chance to fight with his teammate for the title tonight, it was still an outstanding year from the young racer from Detroit. Bailey Bliss concludes her rookie season ranked 4th in the standings, earning her the Rookie of the Year title in the process. She scored a victory herself at Toledo Speedway, and has been one of the fastest trucks week in and week out. EF5 Motorsports has impressed everybody, I think it's safe to say, in their first year of competition, and Bliss, Edwards, and Kurosawa have given the team a lot of moments to be proud of. Similarly to Bliss, the following 3 women in the standings also scored their first career victories this year, Natasha Rodriguez having won the race at Winston Speedway, Brianna Prinzhorn having won at Nelson Ledges, and Amberly Weiss having taken the checkered flag at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds. You'll notice that Rodriguez and Prinzhorn ended the year with the same number of points, and since each driver scored one victory, the tiebreaker goes to their next personal best finishes. Rodriguez scored a second-place finish at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds, while Prinzhorn finished 5th at Toledo. Camden Rhodes, as I mentioned, the only driver apart from Timothy to have scored multiple race wins, vaults himself all the way up to 8th in the standings after having been 17th before the green flag flew earlier tonight. Rhodes did not have the best of seasons by the standards of himself or Operation JM, but the second half of their season has gone much better than the first half did, with Rhodes having won 2 of the final 4 races on the calendar. Adam Ramirez ensures that both of the Jinx Racing development trucks ended the year ranked in the top 10 in the championship standings, and Alex DeFranco earns Midwest Motors their first top 10 result in the points. There is a tie for 11th between Jeffrey Jackson and Zach Churchill, which is broken by Jackson's 4th place finish, which he scored at the Terre Haute Action Track, while Churchill's best result of the year was 5th at Toledo. It was a bit of an off year, unfortunately, for Michael McKinley and the 99M truck, but as I mentioned earlier, the Bloomfield Speedway racer has been having a lot of success in his first season in the FARC Truck Series, so don't doubt the capabilities of that team. John Bennett ends the year ranked 14th in the standings, with Danella Jacobson having fallen all the way back to 15th after finishing in 34th place here tonight, with such a large starting field that unfortunately meant that a lot of points were on the line to lose with that last place finish. And sadly, that's the second last place finish in a row for Jacobson at Berlin. She was wrecked in the first lap of the Voltson Marne 100 last year. Luck has not been on her side at this track, but in spite of that result, it was a very successful year for Jacobson, who is still searching for her first win, but had a lot of very strong results and performances. Team Michigan has a lot to be proud of in their young racer from Saginaw. Jason Miller concludes his first full-time campaign, ranked 16th in the standings, with the highlight of his season being the victory that he scored at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Scott Madigan ends his rookie season in 17th, with Samantha Spires, the former FARC Truck Series racer, ranked 18th. Grant Edwards, in spite of proving that he has the speed to contend for top 5 finishes on a regular basis, only manages 19th in the points standings after suffering from a lot of bad luck at various points throughout the year. So that's definitely not the result that Edwards and his team were hoping for, but once again they have more than proved their worth as contenders in the series, and we can expect a lot of success from them in the years to come. Rounding out the top 20 in the standings is Tiffany Rogers, the young rookie from Indiana, who just barely outscored her teammate Legend Hart, who ranks 21st in the standings. Apart from the top 21, there were only 2 other drivers who attempted at least 9 of the 10 races on the calendar, those being Alex Raston, who ends the year ranked 23rd, and Jenny Jackson, who is ranked 34th. And that concludes our coverage of the 2017 season of the American Short Trackers Voltson Super Trucks. From everyone here at Enrichment TV2, we hope you've enjoyed our coverage, and we hope to see you again soon. So long, everyone.